Channel surfers, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Look at Jenny. I mean, honestly, look at me. But as I was taking notes on this episode, I realized I actually learned something from 90 Day Fiancé. Color me flabbergasted. I'm taking notes where Jim and Luke are talking to Madeleine about practicing her new signature, Madeleine Berry. And Jim makes a joke, Luke, don't hand Madeleine the checkbook. And I wrote down, Jim, meanwhile, your son Luke is in bukus of debt. Who shouldn't have the checkbook? And it dawned on me. It hit me like a bolt of lightning. Bukus. I've always thought that meant buttloads. And what have we learned, if anything, in this season of 90 Day the Other Way? Manon has taught us and Anthony that bukus means big butt in French. So here I am in my slang using bukus like some fancy person. And really, I'm just speaking French and saying big butts. Big butts of debt. Am I shocked? Yeah. Am I old and learned something new? Absolutely. Maybe we'll learn something this episode. 90 Day the Other Way. Season 7, episode 17, On Guard. I only know that in like fencing stuff on TV. Let's watch.
Remote reality, yeah, that's the key. Unlocking stories wild and free. With the hosts side by side. Channel surfers, let's ride.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to Remote Reality. I'm Lauren, your host and attorney friend who loves to overanalyze everything, including my favorite reality TV shows, because yes, I'm a reality TV addict, and this brain never stops. And we are missing today Dee, my often reluctant sidekick, except on Tuesdays. 90 Day is her favorite show. I really think she was fighting to feel better today. She's tripping on some NyQuil right now and in a brain fog. Could have made for an interesting episode, but I do know she's missing her favorite show of the week. And the channel surfers. We're trying to grow our channel. We have been podcasting since April. We started with Polyfamily. That was a flop. And we started the YouTube channel probably around June. But just make sure you hit like and subscribe. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us those 5-star reviews. It means so much to us. This is honestly the best part of our week. We do love all of the law stuff we do. A lot of it centers around getting people out of debt. But this is like our passion project. We have so much fun watching these shows. We have so many thoughts about them, and we love talking to our friends about it, the channel surfers. So thank you for channel surfing with us. Let's jump right in to 90 Day the Other Way. It's just me doing the podcast. So I'm sure some people are going to be hitting that unfollow button. I'm so sorry. Dee really wants to be here to shut me up. Anyway, I did the little Googles on Guard, and it means a direction that's given to prepare to fence. So I guess my reference wasn't completely off. It also means to be ready to take action. How can that relate to this episode? I don't think Jenny's ever on guard. We see her playing cricket. They pretty much try to murder her with a cricket ball. Maybe Luke and Madeleine getting ready to get married, which, follow the metaphor, it's like them going at each other with swords. There we go. It works in that situation. The whole Chloe and Johny scenario in this episode felt very set up. Actually, a lot of them did. But I guess Chloe is in the position ready to jump on that flight if, despite her paranoia, she actually becomes convinced that Johny is cheating on her. Manon, I don't know, she's ready to find that work-life balance. But given the finances, I don't know if she's quite in the position to yet. Going back to Sumit and Jenny, I guess Sadhna is about to go after Jenny and Sumit with some swords. Because killing Jenny with a cricket ball didn't work. What do you think, channel surfers? How does On Guard relate to the episode for you? Maybe they just pulled it out of a hat. Wouldn't put it past them. Y'all know me. This brain never stops and never analyzes everything. So yeah, let's just get into Jenny and Sumit and the almost dateline of it all. Jenny is frustrated. Not frustrated. Every time she says it, she says frustrated. And you know what? She sure is doing a lot of fussing for somebody that's living somewhere where presumably they're not having to pay any bills. Sumit does say that they aren't living at their old apartment because they couldn't afford it anymore. They moved back in with mom and dad. So it's only been a few weeks at this point. I know it feels like it's been forever. We have been watching the family restaurant saga, which maybe has become a little boring. I see production in there like, all right, you know what? This isn't working. Viewers aren't interested. Let's bring back this whole Jenny versus Sadhna storyline. We want to see them go at each other. That's what the viewers want, the excitement, because it's a holiday. So the family restaurant storyline has just completely disappeared from this episode. So why is Jenny annoyed with her free living space? It's that nothing works. The power goes out. The water pressure dribbles. She says she has to stand up against the pipes, which, okay, I feel her on that one. Sucky water pressure. Not great, but free place to live. Where else are you going to go, Jenny? She has to hide the alcohol like they're teenagers or like they're alcoholics. They hide alcohol too. Now, she does say that sometimes when the electricity goes out, she doesn't have hot water. Maybe Chloe's mom, Michelle, should get Jenny to give Chloe like a little FaceTime call. Be like, girl, you do not want a life without hot water because this is not working for Jenny. Also, I'm not really sure how water is heated in India. In the US, a lot of times it's done by gas. I've had tank water heaters. They have a pilot light. I have a tankless water heater. It's hooked up to a gas pipe. I don't know that I've ever had an electric water heater. So maybe it's different. I guess it would be grounded in a certain way where you don't get electrocuted. I don't know. Look, I'm not a water heater installer. I'm not a plumber or an electrician. That would honestly be an occupational hazard for me. So channel surfers, let me know. Do they have electric water heaters? Now, another thing that's really frustrating Jenny's spaghetti, is that her sex life is gone. Look, Jenny needs to get some. This woman used to be busy with Sumit. Before they moved in with mom and dad, they were getting at it 3 to 4 times a week. I don't have the energy for it. I applaud this feat of athleticism. I mean, Sumit says Jenny don't like athletics. Jenny doesn't like to play cricket, baseball, football, like nothing athletic. She doesn't even like chess or checkers. You know what she likes to do? She likes to bang it out, and she's not getting it. That is her cardio. I mean, mom's right there in the other room. There's a 3-year-old next door, which I have a 4.5-year-old, especially if that 3-year-old is coming over and you're exerting your energy, helping to care for that child during the day. I'd be tired too. I am tired, but her sex life is basically over. So she is living at a house under her mother-in-law's thumb, not getting any. I'd be pretty miserable. And her mother-in-law is a nagging woman. I mean, she complains about everything. Nothing can be done right. She uses vulgar language. She complains about even the littlest of things. It's creating a lot of tension in the house and anxiety in the house. And it's not just Jenny and Sumit that notice that. We also see Sumit's brother and his sister-in-law saying it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. Jenny's had enough. And she says in the most monotone voice, I just want to scream at the top of my lungs. I'm like, girl, you got to give us something there. She is so tired of this. She doesn't even have the energy to show how tired she is of it. Have you ever been there where you are just flat out exhausted from something and you don't even hear it anymore in your voice? You're just like, just make it stop. Just make it stop. I feel like that's where Jenny is at this point. It's only been a few weeks. Sumit says this is typical mother-in-law relations, and he's worried. It took him years to win his family back. They did not accept them. I mean, we're a decade into Jenny and Sumit's marriage, and he doesn't want to take a stand against Sadhna because that's disrespectful. He feels like he's facing an impossible choice. But it's a holiday. Let's go. Let's do some family activities, some relationship building activities. Let's go do a little picnic in the park and play some sports, which Jenny hates. She doesn't even like cards, but they're going to do some cricket. We see Jenny swing and hit a ball. We see her swing and miss a ball. She's not doing horrible. I've never played cricket, and I don't know what Jenny's vision is like, but I would be worried that I might not see that ball come in, especially with this cataract. The ball flies past Jenny at one point. It looks like she's playing what I would say in baseball is catcher. And she's like, you don't expect me to go get that, do you? I feel that vibe. I feel that vibe. This is where you need the 3-year-old with limitless energy to run and grab it. Like, oh, let's play a fun game. You go get it. At some point, someone yells, Jenny, dive. She is standing out in the field, red eagle. The ball flies past her. Looks like somebody is farther back that will get it, but someone yells, Jenny, dive. And I'm like, she ain't diving, y'all. She's not even moving toward the ball. She hasn't even turned around to see the ball. She's thinking about something totally unrelated to cricket, I'm sure. She has checked out. And if she dies, she's going to break something. I would probably break something or very much bruise up something if I tried to dive. That's a lot of weight hitting the ground for me. And then I think Sadna's fed up at this point. She's like, here's my chance. Sadna's hitting these balls. She is hitting them out of the park. We don't see Sadna miss. Sadna knows what she's doing with this cricket. Jenny is out there in La La Land in the field, and Sadna sends the ball right at her head. Jenny flops over, laying out like a washed up fish. And Sadna's like, oh, you okay? Everybody else is running like, Jenny! Oh my God, you killed her. Call the ambulance. Actually, nobody says to call the ambulance. Maybe it's a conspiracy. But they were using a softball, not like a big, hard softball in the United States, but an actual squishy kind of cricket ball. Sadna's plan was thwarted. It was the wrong kind of softball. It did not take her out. In fact, she stands right back up. I don't even know if she gave her a concussion. So, a swing and a miss. Sadna did not take Jenny out this time. And if she had, then this next scene wouldn't happen where Jenny just sits down on the picnic mat with her shoes on. Everybody else has taken them off. And Sadna looks like she's going to go swat at Jenny. Get your dang feet off of the mat. Take off your shoes. And Jenny laughs. She's like, oh, okay, yeah. No problem. I got it. And this is where Sumit's brother, he goes, ball on the head, bat on the bum. Gotta watch what you're saying around Jenny. Remember, she is not getting any right now. And that could sound a little bit kinky. She might be ready for a little bat on the bum and some balls on the head, if you know what I'm saying. Her eyes lit up. And I don't think it's because Sadna was standing there. She had thoughts. So they sit down to eat, and Sadna talks about how hard it was to adjust when Sumit left the house. Mother guilt trip. Feels like it. Sumit is quick to point out the reason we left is because you didn't accept us. We didn't have a choice. Sadna believes that she and her husband are the only ones that have made compromises here by taking back Jenny and Sumit and accepting them. She doesn't see any sacrifices that Jenny and Sumit are making. You know, not having that extra bedroom for clothing, or Jenny being 67 and living under your rules, getting criticized for not doing things exactly the way you like them done, moving there from the U.S. Sadna doesn't see any of those sacrifices. She just sees accepting this marriage as the only sacrifice that's being made, which I don't live in India. I do know there's a caste system. I do know that societal expectations weigh a lot more heavily. I think in the United States, some of us can have a luxury of not thinking about what anybody cares about them. But this can affect, in a caste system, your livelihood. So I want to give her some grace and say, this has to be very hard for her, even though I can't appreciate how much she actually is given up. I know intellectually it's a lot. And Sumit tries to tell his mom, look, we've given up things too. He's not getting anywhere with it. He tells Sadna, whenever somebody disagrees with you, you think they're wrong. It's not that black or white. Like, we might have two different opinions. Like, you have an opinion on how something should be done. And when it's not done exactly how you want it, you're coming down on us for the littlest things, using harsh language. It's getting to be too much where we can't deal with this. Jenny feels like she and Sumit are walking on eggshells. It almost sounds like emotional abuse, emotional manipulation. And when Sumit says Jenny is your daughter-in-law and not your servant, Sadhana cracks. She doesn't agree with Sumit taking his wife's side. He should be taking the family side. And just like Sumit said, she tells them over and over, you're wrong. You are wrong not to take your parents' side. And she uses harsh words. Sumit has been speaking passionately, but I would say still calmly. She is yelling. She is crying. She tells him to shut up and stop talking, that he and Jenny are being rude. She starts saying it's a mistake. I can't live with the two of you anymore. She's mad because she doesn't want them to have the freedom. She wants the control over the household, which is her role. And I wonder culturally how that fits into her mentality at this point. However, we see Sumit's brother go up to Sadhana and say, we're having problems with you as well. It's not just Jenny and Sumit. And we see his sister-in-law talking to Jenny saying it's too much. She's really tough, which makes me think that this might be more than just cultural. This might be a little extra, even in Indian culture. I'm not sure though, just a guess. But going back to that manipulation, throughout this series, we have seen Sadhana have some pretty extreme reactions when she doesn't get her way. In one season, she threatened to unalive herself. So I do worry that this may not just be a cultural expectation, that his mother may be dealing with something, even some mental health, and that her kids are concerned for her, but they also have to be concerned for their families and what she's putting their families through. Even if it's one big family, it's having an effect on everybody. Mental health is so important, especially in the United States. We're seeing so many more people open up about it. I don't know what that's like in India. I don't know what the stigmas might be like with treating your mental well-being. But she's very upset. You can tell Sadhana really is suffering. And some of that could be social isolation, potentially brought on by Jenny and Sumit. Even if producers have shifted the focus back to this tension with Sadhana and Jenny, it doesn't mean that the reaction we're seeing might not be real. The crying, seeing Sadhana so hurt, seeing Jenny so stressed out, unless they're very good actors, some of that looked real. I just really hope that the family can work it out and find some peace. And working together might not help this. When you see people every day that you live with, and then you go to work and you see them every day, that can be really difficult. Sometimes you need an outlet, and sometimes that outlet is work. So maybe family restaurant could be adding to this turmoil. We'll see what happens. Next up, we have Luke and Madelein. This is the happiest I have seen this couple this whole season. We are a day before their wedding, and I do suspect a little bit of TLC trying to pull the wool over our eyes, especially in this first scene. Luke, he's hanging lights outside. It looks gorgeous. The view of the water where they're staying. Madelein walks out. She has the biggest smile on her face. If we didn't know she wasn't pregnant, I might have suspected so, because this woman is glowing. And she says she's nervous. She's going to meet Luke's dad for the first time. And as if his dad was hiding behind the building and on the cue of, I'm so nervous to meet your dad, turns around and walks in front of the cameras. Well, and that's exactly what happens. Serendipity? I don't think so. It's Luke and Madelein. I think this is production. They knew what happened. I am pretty sure Madelein has met his dad before this scene. They set up the scene to reenact the first meeting. They're not just so lucky that he happens to pop around the corner. Now, Jim, when he gives Madelein a hug, he looks like one of those Jack in the Box toys when they pop up and they just wiggle back and forth really fast. He's smiling and he is just taking her back and forth, back and forth. Like he's trying to get her dizzy or something. And he tells her how beautiful her country is. Luke points out where he proposed to Madelein. You can see it from where they're staying. So he says this is very special. And then Jim calls Madelein Mrs. Barry. So Madelein Barry, we know what Luke's last name is. I don't think I knew until this episode. Maybe everyone else did. I'm the last to know. Wouldn't surprise me to it though. Madelein Berry. And it's Berry, like a sweet berry. So I thought that was very cute. He asked Madelein if she's been practicing her new signature, and she says she has. Channel service, today is my 7-year wedding anniversary. I still have not taken my husband's last name. I was going to. We got married in 2018. But I have to figure out in South Carolina if you could still practice law under the same name, like under your maiden name, if you change to a married name. Because in some states, even in 2025, it's considered misleading and unethical to still practice under your maiden name. And I have had my own law practice at the time I got married for like 10 years. So people knew me by my professional name. Even from a marketing standpoint, that could have been a hard transition. So I wanted to know. And by the time I finally figured it out, because we were super busy at work, it was like right before COVID started. And then like social security offices were shut down and everything. And then we had our son. We were planning to start trying in March of 2020 when I turned 36. Yeah, how about that timing? You know, one thing happens after the other. I've never practiced my married signature. I keep saying one day I will change my last name. But here we are, 7 years to the day I got married, and I still kept my maiden name. So we'll see. Anyway, so she's signing it, and Jim tells Luke, hand her the checkbook, which I talked about this a little bit in the beginning. I'm sorry, sir. And your son's saying like he is $500,000 in debt. What do you mean don't hand her the checkbook? Especially once we go out to view this property with Jim. So Luke, he's like, look, Madelein, wedding's tomorrow. You get ready. I'm going to take my dad out to see this property. Jim is a businessman. He's very successful. And Luke says that he wants Jim's approval. Those words struck me immediately. I understand what Luke is saying. He wants his very successful dad to go in and say, yes, this is a great business idea. I love this property. You really have something here. He wants support. But if somebody has done businesses as an entrepreneur myself, I would be more excited to get their feedback. How can I improve? What opportunities do you see for me to make this better? How can I avoid missteps? It wouldn't be about somebody validating my business idea. It would be an exciting opportunity to learn from somebody who is successful. So again, looking for his approval, I kind of marked that. Is it that Luke is already concerned that this might not work out? I don't know. The language was interesting. And of course, I'm overanalyzing everything. So he takes him onto the property and we see a cow. It's like, I guess that's my cow. See another cow. I'm not sure that he bought the land with the cows or how exactly that works. I know that a lot of South American or like Caribbean countries I've been to, you do see animals just kind of roaming the sides. I don't know if that animal belongs to another farm. I don't know if there's wild cows. I don't know. I do know in the U.S. that you're not going to see a cow on a deed. Deeds are how you transfer land. Land would include things like fixtures, stick-built homes, even mobile homes when they've been converted into real property, depending on the laws of the state. But sometimes you can affix those to the land, fixtures in the homes. Cows would be personal property. It would be movable. So I don't know how the law works in Colombia, South America, but in the United States, the cows wouldn't be part of the real estate transaction. It might be a separate transaction that you sign when you buy the real property. You know, you sign a separate one purchasing the livestock. It typically would not be on a deed, though. Oh, it wouldn't. So I don't know if that's your cow. See, this is where Dee needs to come and bonk me over the head and be like, Lauren, get out of the law mindset. You're boring everybody. They're hitting unfollow. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. There's a lot that needs to be done. This looks like it's raw land. They need roads. They need buildings. They need cabins. They need to build pools. They might even need to put plumbing in, sewing in. I don't know how raw this land is or how equipped it is to build on yet. And what worries me is I'm not sure that Luke knows either. Jim asks Luke how much this is going to cost. And Luke says, I haven't gotten to that part yet. That's going to be part of him making the business plans. Sir, you have already purchased this property with plans to put what you're estimating from somewhere would be $2 million, and you haven't run these numbers yet? I would think you would run these numbers before you bought the land. You want to make sure this is going to be profitable. You want to make sure that you can get the financing for it. At first, Luke had a job, so he may have been able to get loans based on his income from his job, but now he's left that. So banks, they're not going to give loans if you don't have an ability to repay them. Some businesses run off investors, but investors want a business plan. They're not going to just hand you money and see if it works. They want to see the numbers, the calculations, how you expect to get profit, how you expect to pay that overhead, the electricity, the water, the staff, pay for the linens, the food, like everything. So he wouldn't have investors lined up without these business plans. And he's not a multimillionaire. He's in a lot of debt. What are you doing, Luke? Please tell me that this is TLC trying to trick us and that you actually already have these plans and we're just building a storyline about how you did it, but you've already done it. I don't know. This worries me. Jim echoes my concerns when he goes, Luke doesn't see the whole picture. And that's the thing. The business plans, that is putting everything you can think about the whole picture onto paper. This is how we're going to do it. Jim, I'm worried too. Maybe he's going to be looking at his successful dad to be the investor, but Jim's going to want to see those plans. And Jim also says, if you think it's going to be $2 million, go for 3 because there are things that you don't know. He's saying add an extra 50% to the projected cost. That seems really high. I would say that seems like very conservative. Again, if Luke is just pulling these numbers out of his butt and they're not based on anything, Jim might be right. Jim might be absolutely right. Like, we don't know where these numbers are coming from. You could just say double it. I'm worried. I'm worried, Luke. They start talking about Madeleine's name being on the property. Jim has married somebody. He says that's like Madeleine. And it's not easy. And he points out, you guys are getting married tomorrow. Everything from tomorrow on is yours. Just tell her everything before that. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. It's ours after tomorrow. First, you know how I feel about this. I've talked about this in other episodes. This, to me, is oversimplifying it. I've speculated as to whether or not Luke has even talked to an attorney, but again, I don't know the law in South America. But what Luke has right now is raw land, presumably that is leaned up to a lot of debt. If you sold that land and you paid off the business debt, I don't know that there's going to be anything, not much, possibly not anything once that sells. The value of that land minus the debt might not turn any sort of profit. That's what they have today, the day that they're getting married. It seems like their plan is to build this business together. She's putting work into it. She is putting sweat equity into it. Madeleine. She is, like she said, the boss. She is running the only successful business that Luke has put money into, it seems, with the beauty salon. And it sounds like she's been doing a lot of the connections in South America with this business. So she's going to be working with him to build this business, to get it together, to get it to a place where after the expenses are paid, there's money left over. And even to get it to a place where it can pay those expenses, like the cost of this land. So she's going to be doing work. The money that's brought in from her work is going to be going to pay the land and then also pay a profit. And that land will then have value as that loan gets paid down, as you have a successful business on it that has goodwill. Goodwill are your customer base, the reputation. Things that she's doing with her work are going to put value into that business. So by the time there's a divorce, this is no longer a raw piece of property. It's something that has been built through the marriage, through both of their efforts to become valuable. And if she is putting in the work and relying on this as how they support themselves, why wouldn't she be entitled to some of it? What he has is raw land. What they may have at the end of this is a profitable business that they've both built with equity. So I don't think it's that simple as his name is on a piece of land that probably has no value in it. It may have, and again, I don't know the laws there, may have been a good idea for him to write a loan that he gives the business for anything he's contributed into it so that the business pays him back for what he's put into it. And then as it grows, they both are sharing in that growth. But yeah, I don't think it's that simple. And they say that Madeleine is confused as to why it should just be in his name. I would have questions as well. Then Jim says something that seems sexist and inappropriate. He says that Madeleine is dominating, and if Luke doesn't tell her how things are going to be, then she's going to be the only woman he knows with a vagina and nuts. And those nuts would be Luke's. It doesn't take nuts to be dominating. It doesn't have anything to do with her sex organs. I'm pretty dominating too with all my female part. Like between me and my husband, I am definitely more assertive. So saying that she would have to steal her husband's nuts to be dominating, Jim, that's not how it works, honey. Trust me. I know some ladies who could go toe to toe even with you. Also, I learned about this back in college when I was taking women's studies. That was my cognate. But like, honestly, I didn't know what I was doing in college. I went to law school because like that guy in Madagascar, that zebra, I don't know what else to do. Let's go to law school. But I kind of had a lot of women's study courses, and they were like, okay, you need a minor or cognate. You're almost there. Just finish it off with women's studies. But and YouTube suggested a video the other day, but they were talking about intersex, and there is a syndrome where somebody whose external physical features are female, they have internal testes, androgen insensitivity syndrome. So there are people that are born like that. And it's rare, even though intersex is like 2% of the world population. That condition, it's more like 0.0004%. It's small. But there may be some listeners who are like, you don't know anybody? Well, hey, meet me. And just because they have internal testes doesn't mean that they are more aggressive or anything. They might be sweet as pie, and here I am, bitter as a lemon. So again, I tell your son to like hold on to his balls and say that because Madeleine is more assertive that she has them. It's actually a really good balance for them. And it may be why the businesses they're doing together work is it's like the good cop, bad cop. Luke's the good cop, I guess, in this scenario. And Madeleine's like, or you can deal with me. I guess what we see is almost like a rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding. There is a family dinner, and Madeleine is teaching her family how to say nice to meet you in English. Her little cousin, Mark, is so adorable. He is like a sponge, just trying to learn everything. You can tell he really likes Madeleine. I bet this is like his favorite cousin. He is so excited for her to get married. He's singing the wedding march. Okay, channel surfer, sorry. I had to just step aside for a minute. My little cutie, my son, just popped in and he wanted to podcast with me. I was like, please, I was about halfway done. Let me finish this up. He asked me if I watched Pocoyo when I was a kid. I was like, no, I was 20 when that came out. 21. Wasn't watching Pocoyo. Anyway, Mark, he is just adorable. Luke's dad walks in to meet Madeleine's family, and they say it's kind of awkward because nobody speaks English. No, they don't speak Spanish. They're not whipping out their Google translators. They're letting Madeleine do that. And Luke asks Madeleine to translate. Weddings are about joining families, happiness, and being in the moment, which is interesting. Weddings are about joining families, although that might be a little bit outdated from an American view. It could be more about creating a family. Weddings are about happiness, which, yeah, it should be a very happy day. But again, I think this is probably an American point of view. It's about compatibility. And in some cultures, arranged marriages, it is about joining families and it's not about happiness. And then it's about being in the moment, which for the wedding, maybe you should look at the big picture, kind of like you should do the business plans beforehand. You should also be looking toward the future. This is the first day of the rest of your life. So, of course, me overanalyzing everything Luke says. Her family seems really excited, though, to have Luke join them. He's been there with them in Colombia. Presumably, he already has a relationship with them before the wedding. And they echo that. They say they already feel like Luke is a part of their family. This is the happiest I have seen this couple. It makes me hope that a lot of the drama this season has just been producer driven for content. And hopefully this side of them where they're just like smiling and glowing, hopefully they are having a lot of those moments leading into this. I know that's not what we're seeing in the very few parts of their life that we see edited into this show. But they look really happy. The families, the couple, and that's good to see the day before. Now, Mark, the little cutie Mark, he says in English, he's like, forever family. You can tell he's been practicing this. He says it so clearly and so loud. It's adorable. It's like he wants to show Luke how much that Luke means to him. He's trying to relate to Luke, make Luke feel at home, trying to be like Luke maybe. I just thought that was very cute. And hopefully that meant a lot to Luke that her little cousin absolutely adores him as well. Now, it's raining and Madeleine says, I hope it stops tomorrow. I'm guessing that culturally, rain on the wedding day in Colombia is like it is in the United States, like Alanis Morissette said. Not a great thing. But in some cultures, I do know that rain is actually a good symbol. For example, in Hinduism, Chinese, it shows fertility, growth. When it rains, the plants come up, prosperity. It's a cleansing, a renewal, washes away the pollen here. And it's a fresh start and can also symbolize a long and prosperous marriage. So I thought that was interesting, the comment that hopefully it stops tomorrow, because that may be something that our cultures share in the United States and in South America. But where you're from, what is rain on a wedding day? Is any listeners that it's good luck? So Luke finds a very convenient opportunity to go check on the dogs and leaves Jim with Madeleine. And Jim, he lays it out. He goes, look, I've heard a lot of stuff. I hear you guys are fighting constantly this 2 weeks that he's been here. You've canceled the wedding 3 or 4 times. Threw cake in his face. I'm going to protect my son. But I heard it hasn't been easy living with you. And I'm going to ask you, is this what you really want? And that's where we leave Madeleine and Luke this episode. The night before the wedding, father-in-law asking Madeleine, is this what you really want? And I have to say, she doesn't seem to be getting angry at this. She seems to be smiling at this. Again, it makes me feel like producers said, look, I want you to go and sit down and ask her this, bring up the storyline that we've been drilling this whole time, that all they do is fight, and let's just weave it in here to this part and leave us with a cliffhanger. Just again. Because she does not look like she's about to fly off the handle at that question, which strange question to ask the night before the wedding. Maybe have a little phone call before he even come and ask. This wedding is going through. I don't think there's a question about it. And it has been extreme for the last couple of weeks. I hands down agree with that. Again, some of this can be production. Some of this can be, not that it is that extreme, but I know y'all have seen some bridezillas before a wedding. Weddings can be very stressful. It can be a lot of pressure on people, coupled with hormones, because she either thinks she's pregnant or maybe now that we know she's not, it's PMS, and coupled with financial issues, coupled with the stress of starting a business. I think there's a lot of factors. Again, I'm not saying that how either of them are behaving is justified or right, but there's a lot to the situation. It's not black and white. And also production. Speaking of a lot of stress, especially around businesses, Manon and Anthony. We don't get any Anthony this week. This week it is Manon and her mama, and little baby Ben. Minot's mom asked her, how are things different with his meals now that you are in France and not the US? Minot doesn't know, though. She says, I work in the US. Like, I'm home now. I'm able to do this and prepare his meals for the first time myself, and I'm enjoying that. But at home, Anthony was the one making him dinner. And it reminded me of, as returning channel surfers know, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes about 3 weeks ago. We were in the hospital, and the endocrinologist, she asked me what his meals looked like, how many carbs he usually has. My husband wasn't there. He had gone home to sleep. I stayed at the hospital with my son, and I didn't know. Like Minot, I am, though, the worker here. My husband, up until now, had been the one making the meals, like giving him breakfast before school, packing his lunch, making dinner, which I didn't necessarily eat dinner with them because I might still be editing a podcast. I might be working on legal stuff. And then on top of that, I'm type 1 diabetic. And when my husband has cooked before, he has not had to worry about carbs for him and Jake because they weren't diabetic. They didn't have to give themselves insulin for how many carbs. So a lot of times I would just find my own thing to microwave. So I didn't know, like, I had no idea. And the endocrinologist that's getting frustrated with me, I was like, I'm sorry, like, my husband does that, not me. So it reminded me of that situation. So I feel Minot on that. But the theme that we have been dealing with this whole season, this storyline, is Minot's struggle between balancing being a career woman and being a mom. It's a hard struggle. The other day, Ben actually pushed away Anthony and was asking for Minot. And that was her first. She's been spending more time with him, and they're getting closer. And now he wants mama. And that felt really good to her. Almost to the point where Minot, who has anxiety over money and worries about not having enough, and one of her top priorities has been to work, and have more than enough. Almost to the point where she's like, screw the money, my kid. This is what matters, that, this is what I want. Of course, I understand that's not practical because, like many people, she's not independently wealthy and they need money to live. Now, since the meeting with Dorian, Minot's business partner, Anthony has talked to Minot and he says it's a good idea. And he understands that he married a businesswoman. He knows who he married. So it sounds like there's more support there. Minot likes to stay busy. She likes the accomplishment she feels in having her own business that's successful. It helps her self-esteem. I get all of that. I think being a stay-at-home parent is infinitely hard. I enjoy working and talking to people and helping them figure out their problems and problem solving and feeling like I'm making a difference with my work. And I love my son. I love making a difference for him as well. It is a hard balance, but I feel like if I gave it all up and I was a full-time stay-at-home mom, he would be missing out on who his mom is. And also some of the learning experiences from it, modeling for him that women can be providers. We can be strong. You just don't get a wife to stay at home and cook and clean. Mama never did that. So yeah, I think for any parent, that's a hard balance, but infinitely harder, I would say, to be the one that stays at home with the child. But Minot, she is talking about this work-life balance, and that is really hard when you first start a business. The longer you have your business, you get into the groove of it. I've had my law practice going on, it's been 16 years. We are in year 17. This year it will be 17. Yeah, as much as I'm able to, I kind of have a flow. Now, the area I practice, it's mainly bankruptcy, and that changes a lot. With criminal law, I can take on a case and not much has changed over the last almost 20 years. So bankruptcy is like every 6 months, it's different. It keeps me on my toes. Anyway, that's where we need to eat. I digress. Minot's anxiety over money. We'll just transition bankruptcy into that. So growing up, her mom didn't work. Her dad was the sole provider. He had his own security business. And sometimes he would not make any money because he has to pay the bills. He has to pay the staff first, which as a business owner, I totally get that. When people say maternity leave, I'm like, I have to save up money to pay to leave so I could still pay D and my bills and people to cover for me. That's being a business owner. Also, I thought, well, did Manon marry her dad? Because Anthony, he said that he used to be in security. At first, I thought it was securities, like stocks, which earlier in this series, you hear me talk about. I'm like, man, he was in securities. Why can't he exchange stocks now on his computer? And then I went and looked at his LinkedIn profile and he was in a security business. So did she marry her dad? And then since before Ben was born, he and Manon started that online marketing business according to his LinkedIn, which is not the same as the storyline where Anthony quit his business or quit security to stay at home. Like years before Ben was born, he and Manon had started a marketing business for doctors, which I would suspect they might still be doing, and they might just be filling in a spot on the show because they needed another couple for the other way. Anyway, we've talked about all that. But her dad, if they wanted cash, a lot of times he didn't have cash. And because her mom wasn't working, they didn't have extra income. She's not blaming her mom. She's just saying, from what I'm saying, she didn't have control over her own destiny when it came to finances because she didn't work. She relied on her husband. Not a great financial plan. It kind of just left her stuck where she was. And Manon doesn't want that. She doesn't want to have to rely on a husband for income. She wants to create her own destiny. She said that at the age of 7, they would play a game, or even before the age of 7, where she would help her mom figure out what money needed to go to pay off the bank, to pay off debt. Dee's experiences left her sleepless at night and gave her anxiety, which is why her view on money is that she wants more than enough. Just enough to put food on the table like what Anthony wants. She's got some trauma over this, and that's not enough to fix her stress. I wonder if this has created a problem that really money can't fix. Manon has more money, but she also likes nicer things. And she sees she has the money, so she buys the nicer things. But the nicer things can mean more expenses, which in turn mean more money. And no matter how much money she's making, even if she's putting it away, that might not fix her anxiety over this. I've seen people that are millionaires left with nothing. I mean, thankfully they're not in the US, but medical pills can be very expensive here. Unexpected things happen, serious illness, put you out of work, loss of income. Divorce. You have 2 households supporting one house, use both of your incomes to get that house, and now you have one income, and who can really afford that? You got the house as 2 incomes. How are you going to pay for it with one? So many things can happen. Money might not be the solution to her anxiety. And it might be something to work through those traumas. Manon's mom and Anthony have also said, don't put all your focus on work. Make some time for your kid. These are moments you're not going to get back. Manon missed Ben's first steps, and she doesn't want to miss other moments. There points out that Manon's father was always working too, and he missed a lot of moments in Manon's life. She didn't really get to see him very often because he was always working. That's what clicks with her. She doesn't want that same relationship between her and Ben that she and her dad had. And she starts to think, maybe my mom and Anthony have something to what they're saying. Manon's mom would have cried if she had to work when she had kids. And Manon says, no, I need work, but I need balance. The key word here is balance. I agree with Manon on this. I think I would have cried if I didn't have work when I had my son. I felt like I was back in my element when I went back to working. And it's hard, but Manon says maybe she needs to hit pause on her career. I didn't take that to mean taking a break and then coming back. I took that more to mean pause on it consuming 24 hours a day, her dreaming about it, her thinking about it every moment. Those boundaries, you have to set them. After 5 o'clock, stop your work phone. turn it off. Do not check emails. The stuff will be there tomorrow. Make sure there aren't going to be any fires to put out. Like if you've got something that's an emergency, then no, you're not going to turn off your phone. But most of the time, it can wait until the next day. So you have to set those boundaries. And that's really hard when you're first starting something out. But with time, she'll be able to. And with a partner, hopefully that will ease some of that burden for both of them. They can share that work. Chloe and Johny, ¿Qué pasa? That's the name of the bar they're at. And I remember from Spanish, that means what's up? Cool name for the bar. We are still at Meatball Night. Maria asks Chloe, what is it going to take for you to listen to your best friends and get the F out of here? Because we don't think that you should be with Johny. And Chloe says, look, if he cheats, I will be up and out of there. Maria thinks she should be prepared. Now, Chloe is saying, my friend's opinions, it's not going to change how I feel about Johny. And it becomes pretty clear, one of the three leave. It's just Maria and Chloe. It becomes pretty clear that Maria has some pretty strong opinions on Johny. She and Johny have agreed that they would always extend the invitation to each other if they decide to go out to a bar. Which I don't even know that I always extend the invitation to my husband. That's a different situation, I guess. Well, Johny doesn't like to go out either. My husband, he's introverted. He does like his alone time. He rejuvenates with it. Like if I'm going out with my friends, taking my kid over to a friend's house, he's just like, yes, quiet time to play video games and recharge. Lauren and Jake are so loud. But even when we were dating, like I went on a girls' trip with two of my friends to New York for the weekend. So for me, that was like kind of strange. Like I was having a girls' night and my husband was like, oh, can I tag along? And I was like, oh, this is the girls' night. Whatever. Like we can go out some other night. Not that I really have those. But like when my next door neighbor turned 40, she had a birthday party out and he stayed at home with our son. We didn't have a sitter. So to each their own. So Johny comes out and Chloe tells him, I just want you to be okay with me and Maria going out. Look, you don't want to go out. You don't have to come out. You don't have to worry about us. We're just sitting here having a few drinks. This is what we're doing. Nothing to hide. Maria sees this as Johny projecting. She says that when Johny goes out, obviously he's up to no good. So he thinks they're going to be up to no good. I have no idea what this is. It's just strange to me. It could have something to do with the fact that they don't have the money for her to be going out and acting like she's on vacation all the time. He cannot afford martini night. It's not cheap to go out to drink. She doesn't have a job. It could be that they're just in two very different places in their lives. He doesn't like going out. And maybe what he's wanting is someone who's ready to settle down with him and who likes to stay in with him. He's not like my husband who likes to be at home by himself. He wants to be at home with a companion. Whereas Chloe is like, I want to go out. I don't care if my companion's with me or not. I like the energy. I like being around other people. It might just be a very big difference in what the two of them want. And the way that Johny is asking for that makes her feel like she's doing something wrong. It's like that you can't be going out and staying out all night, like maybe 1 to 2 nights a year, which makes Chloe feel like she's in jail. Slash Chloe, they don't get to go out 1 to 2 nights a year in jail. They don't get to go out at all. And you aren't drinking alcohol made from bread. I digress. Chloe tries to put Johny in her shoes, like, come see my side of this, Johny. What if you were out and partying and you didn't want to come home? You just wanted to stay out and have a good time, which weird place to put Johny because he doesn't like to go out. So I'm not sure that he's even seeing that part from her point of view. And Johny says, if you get a late night, I get a late night, which weird thing to say, Johny, because you don't want a late night. You don't go out. So here's Chloe making this statement, thinking that she's pulling Johny into her shoes, letting Johny see it from her side, thinking that this is a safe and pretty much meaningless statement because Johny doesn't go out. But like, what if you wanted to stay out all night? Well, he's not going to want to stay out all night. I'm not risking anything by saying that. And then he says, well, all right, if you get to stay all night, I do, which, whoa, didn't expect that. What do you mean? You don't go out. What do you mean? So she tells Johny, don't say that out of spite, which kind of what it seems like. It feels like the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. But Johny, you don't want to go out. Like, you going out and staying out all night would actually be miserable for you. And Chloe does want to go out and stay all night. So her staying at home would be miserable for her. And she doesn't trust Johny to like go out and stay out all night, or so she says. And I don't know if he doesn't trust Chloe or if he just doesn't envision himself married to somebody who is that social and gets energy from going out. And also, he's worried about his pocketbook from her continuing to live like she's on vacation. I agree with Chloe. I feel like Johny said that out of spite because he knew she's not going to want him out by himself. I mean, she like tracks him like a detective. He was saying it just to make a point, not because he actually wants to go out. The conversation really didn't get anywhere. And to make things even more awkward, Maria looks at Johny. She's like, "You've done some shit recently." And then immediately is like, "I'm not getting into this." Okay, Maria, let's just throw some stuff out there and then back up once they start fighting. She is just like baiting them. And then she's like, "I'm back. Let's watch this go down." So I wonder how much of this is them reliving something that the editors asked them to. They're all smiling in this scene. Johny is smiling when he's talking about it. He's laughing. Chloe doesn't really seem that mad, and she's kind of like smirking. Maria is smirking. I'm not getting the vibes that they really think it's a big deal. What had happened was on the Johny Pirate, whatever it's called, Johny says there were some crazy girls. And I think by crazy, he just means they like to have fun. They were wilding out. They were having some drinks. And he gave them his social media, which really could be a way for him to make money. If people have gone and they had a good time being hosted on the boat with him, they see he's working, maybe they go back and leave more tips. He's not giving them the phone numbers. He's giving them his social media. The girls messaged Johny. One of the girls messaged Johny on the social media and asked to like go hang out with them. Let's go out tonight. And Johny turns her down. It's like, "No, I don't go out and party." The way I took this was then the girl said, "Well, what if I bring a friend with me?" In other words, I'm not going to make it real uncomfortable, just me and you. It can be like a group thing. And then Johny jokingly says, "Only if it's a threesome," which definitely can see how that can be taken the wrong way. But I have some friends with this sense of humor, and I could definitely see somebody saying that almost to dissuade the girl. Like, if you're looking to get some one-on-one time with me and you're trying to like bait me in that other people would be there, just so you know, I'm not looking for this to be me and you. Like, I'm going to joke around and say if it's a threesome, and hopefully that will turn you off of the idea that we're going to be getting to know each other. But no, like, I already told you I'm not going out, and you bringing the friend along, that's not like some sly way to get to know me. But also as a joke, like, obviously this is not what this girl wants. But they never went out. I'm guessing the conversation ended there. About an hour later, Chloe grabs his phone, starts thumbing through his messages, and finds it. So he's not even trying to hide it. He hasn't deleted it. He hasn't like changed his password. He's an open book. He's like, "Go ahead and see it." I really think this was just a joke. And I can definitely see how it might make Chloe feel insecure. She already is feeling insecure. I don't think he was trying to hide anything. I don't think he was trying to do anything. From a third party perspective, I do think it's kind of funny that this girl is trying to get to know him. She's like, "Oh, like, you'll feel more comfortable if I bring my friend." And he's like, "Oh, only if it's a threesome." Like, yeah, okay, I think that's funny. But I can get where she wouldn't. Although the way that everybody's smiling, it makes me think they know Johnny's sense of humor. And they're like, "Yeah, Johny would say some shit like that." You know, he's very charming. Even Maria is annoyed by his charm. They go into this mad at him. And then at the end, they're like, "Okay, like, we can't be mad at him anymore." I don't know if it's charm or that like what he's saying is making sense. But he says, "I don't want to disappoint you, Maria. I don't want to disappoint Michelle. I was used to living the single and free life where I can make jokes like that to women and people thought it was funny. It didn't seem inappropriate. I got to kind of look at my boundaries here. I mean, the big thing though, he's not trying to hide anything. He lives with Chloe. That's serious. This is the first time he's ever lived with anybody. He's letting her track him everywhere. And yeah, he leaves his phone at the place, which I'm presuming is during the day. Like, this dude ain't going out at night and pretending like he's at work. He's probably running off to lunch and left his phone in his locker or something. It's also, Chloe says if she thought he was cheating, if he was cheating, she would up and leave. She trusts him. Maybe this is reenacting how she felt at the beginning when she didn't realize they weren't exclusive, even though they hadn't had the talk. She maybe was more into it than he was, and she was hurt that he was seeing somebody else. But a lot of this, I mean, this couple, they're smiling throughout. It makes me wonder if they've worked things out and they really don't have these problems, and they're just showing us what it was like when they did, something that they've moved through. Did anybody else get that feeling with all the smiles around the table? And that's it for this week of 90 Day the Other Way. Join us back here next week for Sister Wives and 90 Day the Other Way. Hopefully Dee will be feeling amazing. I guess I should say join us next year. Today and tomorrow are the last 2 days of 2025. I hope everybody makes the most of it. And have a happy new year. We'll see you in 2026. Thank you for being a channel surfer and surfing the channels with us. Let's ride.